In this feature video, we're going to take a look at our new framing blades window, which has been added in our MagicQ version 1972 release onwards. So let's take a look here. The framing blades window is designed for controlling framing shutters in primarily moving light fixtures with framing blades in them, so typically a profile style fixture. I've got some Chauvet Pro Maverick Force 3 profiles patched in here, but this will work with any manufacturer profile fixture that has framing shutters in, or anything with framing shutters that can be controlled via DMX. If I locate these, bring them on, and then if I go and just tilt them onto the back wall in my visualizer, and I'm just going to fan them out a little bit, like so. If we go to the beam window, traditionally to control your framing shutters, you'd go to beam page 5, and you've got your framing shutter control around the 8 encoder wheels. Although it's a little bit clunky to work out, okay, which framing style system am I controlling here. So if I take shutter A here, there's two different framing shutter systems, and by manufacturer or even just model of fixture that can change. You've got the blade being controlled by the two corners of a blade, or going in and swiveling. And you don't really know that necessarily unless you've studied the fixture. When you come to control it here, it's not completely obvious. They're two-channel control that they could do an in and swivel, or they could be doing the two ends of the blade. So in the beam window, rather than having to use encoders and figure out what you're doing with the blades, we have a new visual way of controlling framing blades in the beam window here. Up in the top soft buttons, we have a window here called View Blades, which now gives me visual control of my framing shutters. I have control of the 4 blades, and I can literally just grab a blade, drag it, and bring it in and position like so. Inside the window, I have the blue ring here, which allows me to rotate the view in the window, which allows me to line up my blades to match reality. And of course, framing shutters are supported on fixtures within MagicViz visualization. So if I was to flip, say, the tilt on the fixture, I can use this window to line up my framing shutter so I'm actually looking at the window as I'm seeing things on the stage. So I've got control of my 4 blades, which I can bring in and out like so, and I can position them. I can use my encoders, which actually now give me a nice visual of what the encoder's doing. So if I take frame 1 here, this is going to bring it in and out, and this one is going to control the rotation. And again, this will work with any framing type system. So you can clearly see on the encoders what the framing shutter is going to do. Is it going in and out? Is it swiveling? You also have control in the middle of here. You can see the blue arrow. If I click and drag on here, and of course this works on touch screens of MagicQ consoles, allows me to rotate the actual gate inside the light itself, and you can see that's rotating it in the viz. So you've got the rotation of a gate in the fixture, or you've got rotation of the window of MagicQ to line up with your fixture. So 2 different rotate styles in here. Along your soft buttons along the top, on page 2, we change what the encoders are doing to give us things like zoom, focus, pan and tilt on my encoders, and of course things like frost and rotation. So more common controls you're going to want on your encoder wheels while you're playing visually with your framing shutters. So you may not actually want the shutter control on the encoders, because I'm going to do it visually on the screen. So let's use the encoders for something more useful. You've got things like 0 blades, which just pulls all the blades out and resets them. You've got things like multi-blade. I can mirror the blades, so when I take pairs of blades in together, I can bring them in like so. Or I can go into all blades mode, which grabs all 4 blades, which gives me a nice tight square focus very easily. If I go back to single blades and I grab a blade like so here, you have a blade shift, which allows me to shift what the blades are doing by 90 degrees. You can see blade 2 I put on an angle here. If I shift by 90, now blade 3, 4, if I click the right button, 4 and so on there will move around the window. And of course I can go backwards with that as well. On controls here, we can give you things like arrows for controlling the blades, and very useful here, we've got a zoom in and out on the window. If I zoom in on the window, you can see now I've turned control arrows on. I can now visually, rather than having to use encoders, I can pull on the arrows to pull the blades in and out, and I can use the angled arrows here to do the rotation piece on each of my framing shutters. There is a second option for the control arrows. If I click it again, it gives me almost sort of corner style keystoning, allowing me to drag the corners of my blades and bring them in like so. It's controlling 2 blades together on the edges through the window. And you can see this is updated in my visualizer. So I can now use this visual window for controlling the framing shutters in my fixture, and of course I can go on and use that and record myself beam palettes of different framing information. It's just putting the attributes in the programmer as with anything else, so I can create myself a beam palette of that information like so. So that's our new framing shutter control system in our MagicQ version 1972 release onwards. Download it now.